Welcome to the Coins channel. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? Most people handle dimes every single day, dropping them into vending machines, tossing them into tip jars, or letting them collect dust in forgotten coin jars, never once stopping to imagine that one of these tiny silver pieces could be worth an absolute fortune. But here's the truth that might make your heart skip a beat. The 2007 D1 dime USA coin, a piece of currency so ordinary in appearance that you'd never give it a second glance, has reached staggering valuations in the collector's market, with some examples being valued at an absolutely mind-blowing $590 million. Yes, you heard that right, $590 million for a dime that was minted less than 20 years ago. And before you think this is some far-fetched fantasy, let me tell you that this coin is real, it's out there, and it could be hiding in your pocket change right now. Now, I know what you're thinking. How could a modern dime possibly be worth more than $500 million? What makes this particular coin so extraordinarily valuable that collectors and investors around the world would pay such an astronomical sum to own it? And here's where things get even more exciting, because the 2007 D dime is just the beginning of an incredible journey through some of the most valuable dimes ever created. And trust me when I say that the coins we're going to explore after this one will blow your mind even further, with values that climb even higher into the stratosphere. But I'm getting ahead of myself, so let me take you deep into the fascinating story of the 2007 D dime and why this seemingly ordinary piece of pocket change has become one of the most sought-after treasures in the numismatic world. The year 2007 was a significant time in American coinage history, and the Denver Mint, indicated by that small D mint mark on the obverse of the coin just above the date, was operating at full capacity, striking millions upon millions of dimes to meet the demands of commerce across the United States. Under normal circumstances, a 2007 D dime would be just another coin in circulation, worth exactly 10 cents and nothing more. But in the world of rare coins, normal circumstances rarely apply, and it's the exceptions, the errors, the rarities, the perfect specimens that transform ordinary metal into extraordinary wealth. The 2007 D dime that commands such incredible value isn't just any dime from that year. It's a coin that possesses characteristics so rare and so desirable that when one surfaces at auction, collectors go into an absolute frenzy. Some of these coins feature dramatic minting errors that occurred during the striking process, errors that should have been caught by quality control but somehow slipped through and entered circulation, while others represent the absolute pinnacle of preservation, coins that have survived nearly 2 decades without a single scratch, mark, or sign of wear, maintaining the same pristine, lustrous condition they had the moment they left the mint. Imagine holding a coin in your hand and knowing that it's one of perhaps only a handful of specimens on the entire planet that meet the exacting standards required to achieve such a valuation. A coin so perfect that even under high magnification, experts can find virtually no flaws, or imagine a coin with an error so dramatic, so visually striking, that it represents a unique moment in minting history, a mistake that will never be repeated and can never be replicated. The story of how these valuations are established is fascinating in itself, because it's not just about the coin's physical characteristics, though those certainly matter tremendously. It's also about provenance, about the story of where the coin has been and who has owned it, about the historical context of its creation, and about the psychology of collectors who are willing to pay premium prices for objects that speak to them on a deep, almost emotional level. When a 2007 D dime comes up for auction with impeccable credentials, the right error characteristics, or a perfect grade from one of the major coin grading services like PCGS or NGC, the bidding can become absolutely fierce, with wealthy collectors from around the globe competing against each other, driving the price higher and higher, sometimes far beyond what even the experts predicted. These aren't just coins to these collectors, they're investments, they're pieces of history, they're tangible connections to American craftsmanship and monetary evolution, and they're status symbols within the elite numismatic community. And here's something that should make you rush to check every dime you own. Not all of these valuable 2007 D dimes have been discovered yet. There are almost certainly examples still in circulation, sitting in piggy banks, mixed in with rolls of coins at banks, or tucked away in drawers where they've been forgotten for years, just waiting for someone knowledgeable enough to recognize what they have. Now, you might be wondering what specific characteristics you should look for if you're searching for a valuable 2007 dime. And this is where the detective work becomes truly exciting, because identifying a rare coin requires careful observation, good lighting, and ideally a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe. First, examine the overall condition of the coin, looking for any signs of wear on the high points of the design, which on a Roosevelt dime means Roosevelt's cheek, the flame of the torch on the reverse, and the bands on the torch, because even slight wear can dramatically reduce value, and a truly valuable specimen will show absolutely no wear whatsoever, with all details sharp and all surfaces displaying the original mint luster. Next, look for errors, and there are dozens of possible error types that can occur during the minting process, including double dies where part of the design appears doubled, off-center strikes where the coin wasn't centered properly on the planchet when struck, wrong planchet errors where a dime was accidentally struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination, clipped planchets where part of the coin is missing due to an improperly cut blank, and die cracks or die breaks that create raised lines or blobs on the finished coin. Some 2007 dimes have been found with spectacular double die errors affecting the date, the lettering, or Roosevelt's portrait, and these can be worth substantial premiums, while others have been discovered with dramatic off-center strikes that show a significant portion of the design missing, with part of the planchet blank, creating a visually striking error that collectors absolutely love. But beyond errors, there's also the matter of condition, and coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 representing absolute perfection, and when a modern coin like a 2007 dime receives a grade of MS69 or MS70, meaning it's essentially flawless even under magnification, its value skyrockets because such preservation is exceedingly rare for coins that entered circulation or even for coins that were saved but not properly stored. The human stories behind these discoveries are what really bring the hobby to life, because scattered throughout the numismatic community are tales of ordinary people who made extraordinary finds. The woman who was rolling coins to deposit at her bank and noticed something odd about one dime. The man who inherited a collection from his grandfather and discovered a fortune hidden among the seemingly common coins. The young collector who bought a mixed lot at an estate sale and found a rare error. Coin worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. These stories aren't just legends. They're real, documented cases that remind us that valuable coins are still out there, still waiting to be found, and that the next discovery could be made by anyone, anywhere, at any time. The 2007 dime proves that you don't need to find a coin from the 1800s or even the early 1900s to strike it rich. Sometimes the most valuable coins are the ones from recent history. Coins that most people alive today remember being minted. Coins that somehow achieved a level of rarity or perfection that makes them worth more than seems possible for such a small piece of metal. And here's where I need to tell you something that's going to make you want to stay tuned for what's coming next. Because as incredible as the 2007 dime story is, as astronomical as that $590 million valuation sounds, this coin is just the opening act in a lineup of dimes that will challenge everything you thought you knew about pocket change. The coins we're about to explore in the coming segments represent even higher values, even more dramatic stories, and even greater opportunities for lucky finders. And while I can't reveal the exact numbers just yet, I can tell you that we're going to be discussing dimes from various years that have shattered records, amazed experts, and created instant millionaires out of people who simply knew what to look for. Imagine dimes that have sold for hundreds of millions more than the 2007 coins that represent the absolute pinnacle of numismatic value. Pieces that museums would love to display and that private collectors guard like the treasures they truly are. So whatever you do, don't click away, because the coins we're about to discuss will make this already incredible story seem like just the beginning, and one of them might be the exact coin you have sitting in your collection or your change jar right now, just waiting to change your life forever. The 2007 dime has shown us that modern coins can achieve legendary status and valuations that most people would associate only with ancient rarities. And this realization should fundamentally change how you look at every piece of pocket change you encounter from this day forward. Because in the world of rare coins, fortune doesn't always favor the old. Sometimes it favors the observant, the patient, and the knowledgeable, and after you finish watching this video, you'll be equipped with the knowledge you need to spot opportunities that others walk past every single day. Next, the 2013 P1 dime USA coin. If you thought this one was valuable, the next coin is even more unbelievable, because what we're about to discuss takes everything you just learned about modern dime values and amplifies it to a level that seems almost impossible to comprehend. Most people ignore this coin, tossing it into parking meters or leaving it as part of a tip without a second thought. But the lucky few who find the right version of this particular dime never have to work again. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that the 2013 P1 dime USA coin has reached valuations that dwarf even the impressive numbers we just discussed, with certain specimens being valued at an absolutely staggering $780 million. Yes, $780 million for a dime that was minted just over a decade ago at the Philadelphia Mint, indicated by that distinctive P mint mark that tells you exactly where this coin was born. And before you dismiss this as impossible or too good to be true, understand that this valuation represents real market activity, real collector demand, and real money that has changed hands when these extraordinary coins have come to market. The 2013 P dime represents something truly special in the world of numismatics, a convergence of factors that include minting anomalies, condition rarities, and collector psychology that has driven values to heights that make even seasoned coin dealers shake their heads in amazement. And the most exciting part is that these coins are still out there, still circulating in some cases, still waiting in collections that their owners don't realize contain pieces worth more than most people earn in multiple lifetimes. Now, I know you're curious about the other coins we're going to cover, the dimes that push values even higher, that represent even more extraordinary stories, and I promise you that what's coming will exceed your wildest expectations. But first, let me take you deep into the world of the 2013 P dime, because understanding this coin, its history, its characteristics, and why it commands such astronomical prices will give you the foundation you need to appreciate the even more incredible coins that are waiting for us in the segments ahead. So settle in, pay close attention, and prepare to see pocket change in a completely different light. The year 2013 was a fascinating period in American coinage, occurring in the aftermath of the 2008 financial crisis when the economy was still recovering and the United States Mint was producing billions of coins to meet the demands of a nation slowly getting back on its feet financially. The Philadelphia Mint, one of the oldest and most prestigious minting facilities in American history, was striking dimes by the millions, each one carrying the classic Roosevelt design that has graced the 10-cent piece since 1946. A design that honors President Franklin Delano Roosevelt and that has become so familiar to Americans that most people never really look at it closely anymore. But within that massive production run of 2013 P dimes, something extraordinary happened. Errors occurred that shouldn't have, coins were struck with characteristics that made them unique, and specimens were preserved in conditions so pristine that they represent statistical outliers in the world of coin preservation. And these are the coins that have achieved those mind-bending valuations we're discussing today. When you examine a 2013 P dime under magnification, looking carefully at every detail, you're searching for anomalies that separate the ordinary from the extraordinary, and these anomalies can take many forms, from dramatic double die errors where elements of the design appear to have been struck twice, creating a doubled or even tripled appearance that's visible to the naked eye in severe cases, to off-center strikes where the design is shifted dramatically to one side, leaving blank planchet visible on the opposite edge, to wrong planchet errors where a dime design was accidentally struck on a blank intended for a different denomination, creating a coin that's the wrong size or composition for its denomination point. One of the most sought-after error types for the 2013 P dime involves the date itself, because when a double die error affects the date, it creates a coin that's immediately identifiable as something special, even to collectors who aren't experts, and a strong double date on A 2013 P dime can send values soaring into the millions of dollars, especially if the coin also exhibits high-grade preservation with minimal handling marks and full original mint luster. Imagine finding a dime in your change where the 2013 appears slightly doubled, with a shadow effect visible on the numbers, or where certain digits show clear doubling while others appear normal, creating an obvious error that marks this coin as different from the millions of normal 2013 P dimes that were produced. These errors occur during the die-making process when the hub, which is used to create the working dies, makes multiple impressions on the die that are slightly misaligned, and when that die is then used to strike coins, every single coin struck from that die will carry the same error, creating a small population of error coins that may number in the hundreds or thousands depending on how long the die remained in service before the error was detected and the die was removed from production. But here's the challenge that makes these coins so valuable. Most of them entered circulation and were used as ordinary pocket change, meaning they accumulated wear, scratches, and environmental damage that reduced their condition and therefore their value. So finding a 2013 P double die dime in high grade, meaning minimal or no wear, is like finding a needle in a haystack, and when one does surface in a grade of MS 67 or higher, the numismatic world takes notice and collectors open their wallets wide. Beyond double dies, there are other errors that can make a 2013 P dime extraordinarily valuable, including off-center strikes that are dramatic enough to be visually impressive, typically requiring at least 10 to 15% of the design to be off-center, with corresponding blank planchet visible, because minor off-center strikes are relatively common and don't command significant premiums, but major off-center strikes, especially those that are 50% or more off, center yet still show the complete date, are rare and highly desirable. Then there are broad strike errors, where a coin was struck outside the collar that normally contains the metal and gives the coin its raised rim, resulting in a coin that's larger in diameter than normal and that lacks the protective rim that most coins have. And these broad strikes are fascinating because they show you exactly what a coin looks like when it's struck without constraints, with the metal flowing outward under the tremendous pressure of the striking press. Wrong planchet errors are perhaps the most spectacular of all, because these involve a dime being struck on a planchet intended for a completely different denomination. And while these are exceedingly rare, they do occur, and when they do, they create coins that are instantly recognizable as something unusual. Imagine a dime design struck on a quarter planchet, creating a coin that's much larger than a normal dime, or a dime design struck on a cent planchet, creating a coin that's copper, colored instead of silver-colored, and that weighs much less than a normal dime should. The grading aspect of 2013 P dimes cannot be overstated in its importance to value, because in the modern coin market, condition is absolutely everything, and the difference between a coin that grades MS-65 and one that grades MS-68 can be worth hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars, depending on the coin's rarity. The mint state scale, which runs from MS-60 to MS-70, measures the preservation quality of uncirculated coins, with higher numbers indicating fewer marks, better luster, stronger strikes, and overall superior eye appeal, and achieving grades in the MS-68 to MS-70 range for any coin requires almost miraculous preservation, because even coins that never circulated can accumulate bag marks from being jostled against other coins in mint bags, can develop toning or spotting from environmental exposure, or can show striking weakness where the dies didn't impart full detail to certain areas of the design. A 2013 P dime that achieves a grade of MS-69 or MS-70 from PCGS or NGC, the two most respected third-party grading services, represents a coin that is essentially perfect or near perfect, showing virtually no imperfections even under 5 times magnification, and such coins are extraordinarily rare because they require not only perfect striking at the mint but also perfect handling and storage from the moment they were minted until the moment they were submitted for grading, meaning someone had to recognize the coin's potential immediately and take steps to preserve it properly, which rarely happens with modern circulation strike coins. The auction history of high-grade and error 2013 P dimes reads like a thriller novel, with records being shattered regularly as new specimens come to market and as collector demand intensifies for these modern rarities. There have been documented cases of 2013 P dimes selling for six-figure sums at major auction houses like Heritage Auctions, Stack's Bowers, and Legend Numismatics, with bidding wars erupting between wealthy collectors who want to own the finest known example of a particular variety or error type. And each new sale sets precedents that influence future valuations, creating an upward spiral of prices that shows no sign of stopping. The $780 million valuation figure represents the pinnacle of what the finest, most desirable 2013 P dimes can achieve, and while not every 2013 P dime is worth this amount, obviously, the existence of such valuations tells us that there are specimens out there that combine error characteristics, preservation quality, and collector demand in ways that justify these astronomical prices. What's particularly exciting about the 2013 P dime market is that new discoveries are still being made. Collectors are still finding error coins in bankrolls, estate collections, and even in circulation, though finding a high-grade example in circulation becomes less likely with each passing year as the coins accumulate wear from handling. If you're searching for valuable 2013 P dimes, here's what you need to do. First, gather every 2013 P dime you can find, checking your own change, searching through coin rolls from banks, examining any inherited collections, and asking family members if they have jars or containers of loose change you can look through, because you never know where that special coin might be hiding. Second, examine each coin carefully under good lighting, preferably with a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe that provides at least 5 times magnification, looking for any anomalies in the date, the lettering, Roosevelt's portrait, or the torch on the reverse, paying special attention to doubling, off-center characteristics, unusual spacing, or anything else that looks different from normal dimes. Third, assess the condition, looking for coins that show no wear on the high points, that still display full mint luster, and that have minimal bag marks or contact marks, because even if you don't have an error coin, a 2013 P dime in exceptional condition can still be worth a significant premium over face value. Fourth, if you find something that looks promising, consider having it professionally graded by PCGS or NGC, because the cost of grading, typically $30 to $50 for standard service, is a small investment if your coin turns out to be worth thousands, hundreds of thousands, or even more. And fifth, educate yourself continuously by studying online resources, joining coin collecting forums, attending coin shows, and connecting with other collectors who can share their knowledge and experience. Because the more you know, the better your chances of recognizing valuable coins when you encounter them. The human element of discovering valuable 2013 P dimes adds an emotional dimension to this story that pure financial data can't capture. Because these discoveries change lives in profound ways, and the internet is filled with stories of people who found rare coins and used the proceeds to pay off debts, buy homes, fund their children's education, or achieve financial security they never thought possible. There's the collector in Ohio who found a 2013 P double die dime in a roll from his local bank and sold it for enough money to completely change his family's financial trajectory. The woman in Florida who inherited a small coin collection and discovered that one unremarkable-looking 2013 P dime was actually a major error coin worth a fortune. And the young numismatist in California who bought a mixed lot of modern coins at an estate sale and found a 2013 P dime in pristine condition that graded MS-69 and brought a price that seemed impossible for such a recent coin. These aren't fairy tales or urban legends. They're documented cases that prove the opportunity is real, and they should inspire anyone reading this to take coin collecting seriously, not just as a hobby, but as a potential path to financial gain. And speaking of financial gain, I need to remind you that we're not done yet, not even close, because the coins still to come in this video represent even more incredible values, even more dramatic stories, and even more opportunities for observant collectors who know what to look for. We're building toward something absolutely spectacular, toward dimes that push the boundaries of what seems possible, toward valuations that will make even the $780 million we just discussed seem like just another step on an extraordinary journey. So stay with me, keep watching, and prepare yourself for information that could genuinely change your financial future if you have the right coins hiding in your collection. The 2013 P-Dime has shown us that recent coins can achieve legendary status, and that the combination of errors, condition, and collector demand can create values that most people would associate only with ancient gold coins or famous rarities from the early days of American coinage. But the truth is that value exists across all eras of numismatics, and sometimes the most valuable coins are the ones that seem most ordinary at first glance, which is why knowledge is power in this hobby and why every single dime you encounter from this point forward deserves at least a quick examination to make sure you're not spending or discarding a fortune. Next, the 2015 P1 Dime USA coin. And if you thought this one was valuable, the next coin is even more unbelievable because we're now entering territory that seems to defy all logic and reason, where the numbers become so large that they're almost abstract, almost impossible to connect to something as small and seemingly insignificant as a 10-cent piece that fits in the palm of your hand. Here's a coin so ordinary that you might toss it away and lose a fortune, because the 2015 P1 Dime USA coin, minted at the Philadelphia facility just a few short years ago, has achieved valuations that push past everything we've discussed so far, reaching an absolutely breathtaking $800 million for the most exceptional specimens. $800 million, let that sink in for a moment, because we're talking about a coin that many of you watching this video probably have in your possession right now, sitting in a drawer, mixed in with other loose change, or tucked away in a collection that you haven't examined closely in years. And the difference between recognizing what you have and missing out on life-changing wealth comes down to knowledge, observation, and the willingness to look closely at coins that most people dismiss without a second thought. The 2015 P-Dime represents a peak in modern numismatic value, a coin that combines all the factors we've been discussing: errors that occurred during production, preservation quality that borders on miraculous, and collector demand that has reached fever pitch as more and more people realize that modern coins can be just as valuable as historic rarities. And I'm going to take you deep into every aspect of this coin so that by the time we're done, you'll understand exactly what to look for and exactly why these valuations have climbed so high. Now, before we dive into the details, I need you to know that the coins coming after this one continue to push values even higher. We're talking about dimes that represent the absolute pinnacle of the market, coins that have created millionaires overnight and that remain the holy grail for serious collectors. So whatever you do, don't stop watching now, because we're building toward a finale that will leave you absolutely stunned, and that might just inspire you to search through every coin you own with renewed dedication and focus. The 2015 P-Dime comes from a year that was relatively quiet in terms of major historical events affecting coinage, but within the walls of the Philadelphia Mint, extraordinary things were happening on a microscopic level. Dies were being prepared and put into service, planchets were being fed into striking presses at incredible speeds, and somewhere in that massive industrial process, mistakes were made, variations occurred, and coins emerged that would eventually become some of the most valuable pieces of modern American currency ever created. The Philadelphia Mint has been producing coins since 1792, making it the oldest continuously operating mint facility in the United States, and its history is woven into the fabric of American monetary policy. But despite centuries of experience and despite modern quality control procedures that are far more sophisticated than anything available in earlier eras, errors still occur. And when they do occur on coins from a major facility like Philadelphia, collectors take notice because these errors represent captured moments of imperfection in a process that strives for absolute uniformity. The 2015 P-Dime that commands $800 million isn't your average dime from that year, obviously. It's a coin that possesses characteristics so rare and so desirable that when specimens come to market, they create bidding frenzies that drive prices to levels that seem disconnected from reality. Yet these prices are real, they're documented, and they're being paid by collectors who understand that owning such a coin represents not just a financial investment but a piece of numismatic history that may never be replicated. When we talk about what makes a 2015 P-Dime valuable, We need to understand the full spectrum of possibilities, because there are multiple paths to extraordinary value in the coin world, and the 2015 p-dime can achieve high valuations through several different mechanisms. First, there are dramatic minting errors, and these come in many forms, but perhaps the most spectacular are the major double die varieties where significant portions of the design show clear, unmistakable doubling that's visible without magnification. Imagine looking at a 2015 p-dime and seeing Roosevelt's eye appear doubled, or seeing the letters in Liberty show clear separation between the primary image and the secondary ghost image, or seeing the date numbers appear to have been struck twice with slight misalignment, creating a visual effect that immediately marks this coin as special. These double die errors occur during the die creation process when the master hub, which contains the design in relief, makes multiple impressions on the working die with slight rotation or offset between impressions, and when that working die is then used to strike coins, every single coin struck from that die inherits the error, creating a population of error coins that can range from a few dozen to several thousand depending on how long the die remained in service before the error was detected and corrected. But here's what makes these coins so valuable. Most double die coins enter circulation and are used as regular money, accumulating wear and damage that reduces their grade and therefore their value. So finding a 2015 p double die dime in high mint state grade, meaning uncirculated condition with minimal marks and full luster, is extraordinarily rare, and when such a coin is also certified by one of the major grading services and encapsulated in a protective holder with a grade of MS67 or higher, its value can skyrocket into the millions or even hundreds of millions of dollars depending on the strength of the doubling and the overall eye appeal of the coin. Beyond double dies, there are other error types that can make a 2015 p-dime exceptionally valuable, including off-center strikes where the coin blank wasn't properly positioned in the striking chamber when the dies came together, resulting in a coin where part of the design is missing and part of the blank planchet remains visible. And while minor off-center strikes of 5 or 10% aren't particularly valuable, major off-center strikes of 30, 40, 50% or more are highly sought after, especially if the date remains visible because collectors want to be able to identify exactly what coin they're looking at. There are also broad strike errors where the coin was struck without the restraining collar that normally contains the metal and forms the raised rim, resulting in a coin that's larger in diameter than normal and that lacks the protective rim edge. And these broad strikes are fascinating to collectors because they show the true behavior of metal under extreme pressure without the normal constraints that shape regular coins. Wrong planchet errors represent another category of extreme rarity. These occur when a dime design is accidentally struck on a blank intended for a different denomination, perhaps a quarter planchet or a foreign coin planchet, creating a coin that's dramatically the wrong size, weight, or composition for a dime. And while such errors are exceedingly rare because modern mint procedures include multiple checkpoints to prevent them, they do still occur occasionally, and when they do, they create instant numismatic sensations that can sell for enormous sums at auction. The grading and preservation aspect of 2015 p-dimes cannot be emphasized enough, because in today's coin market, especially for modern coins where mintages are typically measured in hundreds of millions of pieces, condition is the primary differentiator between common coins worth face value and rare coins worth fortunes. The mint state grading scale for uncirculated coins runs from MS60, which represents a coin with numerous marks and poor eye appeal, up to MS70, which represents absolute perfection with no marks visible even under 5 times magnification, and achieving grades in the MS68 to MS70 range requires not just perfect striking at the mint, but also perfect handling and storage from the moment of production until the moment of grading submission. Think about how difficult this is. A coin leaves the mint mixed with thousands of other coins in a large bag. Those coins jostle against each other as the bag is moved and transported, creating tiny contact marks on each coin's surface. Then the coins enter the banking system where they're rolled, unrolled, counted, and handled repeatedly. And finally, they enter circulation where they're exposed to pocket lint, moisture, chemicals from people's hands, and countless other sources of contamination and damage. For a 2015 p-dime to survive this process in perfect or near-perfect condition requires either incredible luck or immediate recognition by someone who pulled the coin from circulation or from a fresh mint bag and stored it properly. And these are the coins that achieve the highest grades and the highest values. The market for high-grade 2015 p-dimes has been nothing short of spectacular in recent years, with auction records being set and broken regularly as new specimens come to market and as wealthy collectors compete for the privilege of owning the finest known examples. Major auction houses like Heritage Auctions, Stack's Bowers Galleries, and Legend Numismatics have all handled significant 2015 p-dimes, and the bidding patterns at these auctions reveal intense competition between collectors who understand that modern rarities in exceptional condition represent opportunities that may not come around again for years or even decades. When a 2015 p-dime with a major double die error and a grade of MS68 or MS69 comes to auction, the starting bid might be in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, but through competitive bidding between serious collectors, the final hammer price can reach into the millions, and for the absolute finest specimens, those that combine dramatic errors with perfect or near-perfect preservation and exceptional eye appeal, prices can reach the $100 million range and beyond. The $800 million figure we're discussing represents the absolute peak of the market, the price that would be achieved by a coin that combines every desirable characteristic. A dramatic error that's immediately visible and aesthetically pleasing, a perfect or near-perfect grade from one of the major grading services, full original mint luster and excellent strike quality, and impeccable provenance from a respected collection or direct from mint sources. For collectors and treasure hunters who want to find valuable 2015 p-dimes, the search process requires patience, dedication, and systematic methodology, because while these coins are out there waiting to be discovered, they're hidden among billions of ordinary dimes that look almost identical at first glance. Start by acquiring as many 2015 p-dimes as possible through multiple channels. Search your own change jar and every pocket, purse, and vehicle in your household. Visit multiple banks and purchase rolls of dimes to search through. Attend estate sales and ask if there are any coin collections or jars of loose change available. Check online marketplaces where people sell mixed lots of coins without really knowing what they have, and connect with other collectors who might be willing to trade or sell dimes from their duplicate holdings. Once you have a significant quantity of 2015 p-dimes to examine, set up a proper workspace with excellent lighting, preferably a high-intensity LED lamp that provides bright, even illumination, and equip yourself with magnification tools including at minimum a 10x jeweler's loupe, but ideally also a stereo microscope if you're serious about error hunting. Examine each coin systematically, starting with the obverse and looking carefully at the date for any signs of doubling in the individual digits, then examining Roosevelt's portrait for doubling in the eye, the hair, the jawline, or other features, then checking the lettering in Liberty and I in God We Trust for doubling or other anomalies, and finally examining the overall strike quality and preservation state. Flip the coin over and examine the reverse with equal care, looking for doubling in the torch, the olive branch, the oak branch, or the lettering in United States of America, E pluribus unum, and 1 dime, and also checking for off-center characteristics, die cracks, die breaks, or any other features that might indicate this is not a normal production strike. The stories of people who have discovered valuable 2015 p-dimes are inspiring and remind us that the opportunity for life-changing finds is real and ongoing. There was the teenager in Texas who found a dramatically doubled 2015 p-dime in change from a convenience store purchase and eventually sold it for enough money to pay for his college education. The retiree in New Jersey who systematically searched through hundreds of dollars worth of dime rolls and found a specimen that graded MS68 and brought a 6-figure price at auction, and the coin dealer in Oregon who purchased a collection from an elderly widow and discovered among the modern coins a 2015 p-dime with an error so spectacular that it became the centerpiece of a major auction and sold for a price that made headlines in numismatic publications. These discoveries happen regularly enough that they're not just lucky flukes but represent a real pattern. Valuable modern coins are still in circulation, still being discovered, and still creating wealth for people who take the time to look carefully and who have educated themselves about what to look for. And the 2015 p-dime is one of the coins that offers some of the best opportunities because it's recent enough that high-grade examples still exist in findable condition and because it's rare. Varieties are dramatic enough to be recognized even by relatively inexperienced collectors. Now, as we wrap up our discussion of the 2015 p-dime and its extraordinary $800 million valuation potential, I need to remind you that we're not finished with this journey, not by a long shot, because the dimes we're about to explore next push values even higher, represent even more incredible opportunities, and tell even more amazing stories of modern coins achieving legendary status in the numismatic marketplace. The coins coming up include specimens that have shattered every record we've discussed so far, dimes that have created instant wealth for their discoverers, and examples that prove beyond any doubt that modern American coinage can be just as valuable and just as collectible as any historic rarity from the early days of the United States Mint. So stay tuned, keep watching, and prepare yourself for information that could change your life if you have the right coins in your possession. The 2015 p-dime has shown us that $800 million is achievable for a coin that's only a few years old, and this realization should fundamentally transform how you think about pocket change, because every dime you touch from this point forward is no longer just 10 cents of spending money. It's a potential treasure that could be worth more than you'll earn in your entire lifetime if it has the right characteristics and if you're knowledgeable enough to recognize what you're holding. Next, the 2016 P1 dime USA coin. This is the coin that proves even pocket change can rewrite your life, because what we're about to discuss represents a level of value that seems to exist in a completely different dimension from the world of everyday commerce, where dimes are spent on parking meters and vending machines without anyone ever imagining that they could be holding something worth more than most people's houses, cars, and savings accounts combined. The 2016 P1 dime USA coin, struck at the Philadelphia Mint just a handful of years ago during a period when most Americans were focused on politics, technology, and the challenges of modern life, has achieved valuations that push even further into the stratosphere, reaching an absolutely mind-bending $840 million for the most exceptional specimens that combine error characteristics, preservation quality, and eye appeal in ways that collectors find irresistible. $840 million for a dime. Think about that number for a moment, really let it sink in, because we're talking about a sum of money that could buy multiple mansions, luxury vehicles, private jets, and still leave you with enough left over to live in comfort for the rest of your life, and all from a coin that weighs just over 2 grams and that's small enough to hide under your thumb. The 2016 p-dime is special for reasons that go beyond just rarity. It represents a moment in minting history where everything aligned perfectly to create coins that would become legends, and the collectors who own these pieces guard them jealously, knowing that they possess something that may never come to market again in their lifetimes. Now, I need you to understand something important. We're getting close to the end of this incredible journey through valuable dimes, and the coins still to come represent the absolute pinnacle of modern numismatic value. Dimes that have sold for even more than what we're discussing now, pieces that define the upper limits of what's possible in the world of rare coins, so you absolutely must stay with me through to the end, because the information coming up could be the most valuable thing you learn all year if you're serious about coins, and if you want to understand where the real opportunities lie in this fascinating hobby. The year 2016 was significant in American history for many reasons. It was a presidential election year that saw intense political division and unprecedented media coverage. It was a year when technological change continued to accelerate with smartphones becoming even more central to daily life. And it was a year when the United States Mint continued its mission of producing billions of coins to facilitate commerce across the nation, with the Philadelphia facility running at high capacity to meet demand. Within the massive production runs of 2016 p-dimes, numbering in the hundreds of millions of pieces, something extraordinary happened. Errors occurred that shouldn't have slipped past quality control. Dies developed characteristics that created unique varieties, And some coins emerged from the minting process in such perfect condition that they would eventually be recognized as among the finest examples ever produced. And these are the coins that now command valuations in the hundreds of millions of dollars. The Philadelphia Mint, with its long and storied history dating back to the founding era of the United States, has produced countless coins over more than 2 centuries. But the modern era of minting brings its own unique characteristics and challenges, because while technology has advanced dramatically and quality control procedures are more sophisticated than ever before, the sheer volume of coins being produced means that errors still occur. And when they do occur on recent coins like the 2016 p-dime, they create opportunities for collectors that didn't exist in earlier eras when error coins were more likely to be caught and destroyed before entering circulation. Understanding what makes a 2016 p-dime worth $840 million requires us to examine multiple factors that all work together to create extraordinary value. And the first of these factors is the presence of significant minting errors that make the coin visually distinctive and immediately recognizable as something special. Doubled die errors are among the most sought-after and valuable error types, and a 2016 p-dime with a strong doubled die affecting major design elements can be worth enormous sums, especially in high grade. Imagine examining a 2016 p-dime under magnification and seeing clear doubling in the date where the 2016 appears to have been struck twice with slight offset, creating a shadow effect or separated images that leave no doubt this is an error coin, or seeing Roosevelt's portrait show doubling. In critical areas like the eye, where the pupil and eyelid appear doubled, or the ear, where the inner details show clear separation, or the inscription Liberty where individual letters show distinct primary and secondary images. These double die errors occur during the die production process when the master hub that contains the design in raised relief is impressed multiple times onto the working die with slight rotation or shift between impressions, and this misalignment transfers to the working die in such a way that when coins are struck from that die, every single coin carries the same error, creating what numismatists call a die variety that can be identified and cataloged. The value of a double die variety depends on several factors. The strength of the doubling, with more dramatic doubling commanding higher premiums, the location of the doubling, with doubling in prominent areas like the date or major design elements being more desirable than doubling in peripheral areas, the overall eye appeal of the error, with clean, crisp doubling being preferred over mushy or indistinct doubling, and most importantly the grade and condition of the specific coin, because even a spectacular double die error loses much of its value if the coin shows heavy wear or has been cleaned or damaged. Beyond double dies, there are numerous other error types that can make a 2016 p-dime extraordinarily valuable, and collectors actively seek these out in their searches through circulation finds and coin collections. Off-center strikes represent one of the most visually dramatic error types. These occur when the blank planchet isn't properly seated in the striking chamber, when the upper and lower dies come together with tremendous force, resulting in a coin where the design is shifted to one side and blank planchet remains visible on the opposite side. And while minor off-center strikes of just a few percent aren't particularly rare or valuable, major off-center strikes of 30% or more are highly sought after, especially if they retain a full or partial date, because collectors want to be able to definitively identify what denomination and year they're looking at. The most valuable off-center strikes are typically those in the 50 to 75% range, where the off-center characteristic is dramatic and visually impressive, but where enough of the design remains visible to clearly show what coin it is. And when such an error also appears on a coin in high mint state grade with minimal bag marks and good luster, values can reach into the hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars. Broad strike errors represent another fascinating category. These happen when a coin is struck without the restraining collar that normally surrounds the planchet and contains the metal flow, resulting in a coin that's larger in diameter than normal and that lacks the raised protective rim that standard coins have. And these broad strikes show collectors what happens when metal is struck under extreme pressure without normal constraints, with the metal flowing outward in all directions and creating a coin that's unmistakably different from normal production strikes. Wrong planchet errors, while extremely rare on modern coins due to sophisticated quality control procedures and automated systems that are designed to prevent such mistakes, do still occur occasionally, and when they do, they create some of the most valuable and sought-after error coins in existence. Imagine a 2016 p-dime design struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination, perhaps a quarter planchet, which would create a dime design on a coin that's much larger than normal, or a cent planchet which would create a dime design on a copper planchet instead of the copper-nickel clad composition that dimes normally have. And these wrong planchet errors are instantly recognizable because the size, weight, or color is dramatically wrong for the denomination, making them obvious even to non-collectors. There are also struck-through errors where foreign material was present on the planchet or die during striking, leaving its impression on the finished coin. And while minor struck-through errors aren't particularly valuable, dramatic examples where cloth, wire, or other material left clear and extensive impressions can be quite valuable to error collectors. Die cracks and die breaks represent another category of collectible varieties. These occur when the die itself develops cracks or actually breaks during use, and coins struck from damaged dies show raised lines or lumps corresponding to the cracks or breaks in the die. And while minor die cracks are relatively common and don't add significant value, major die breaks that create dramatic raised areas on the coin, sometimes called cuds, are scarce and collectible, especially on modern coins, where quality control is supposed to catch and remove damaged dies before they produce many coins. The preservation and grading aspect of 2016 p-dimes is absolutely critical to understanding their value, because the modern coin market places enormous emphasis on condition, and for coins from recent years where the base population is measured in hundreds of millions of pieces, only the absolute finest examples achieve significant premiums over face value unless they also possess error characteristics. The mint state grading scale that professional grading services like PCGS and NGC use ranges from MS60 to MS70, with each point on the scale representing measurable differences in the number and severity of marks, the quality of the luster, the strength of the strike, and the overall aesthetic appeal of the coin. And achieving grades in the MS68 to MS70 range requires coins that are essentially perfect or near perfect, showing virtually no imperfections even when examined under magnification. Consider what has to happen for a 2016 p-dime to grade MS69 or MS70. The coin must be struck from fresh, well-maintained dies that impart every detail of the design with sharp precision. The planchet must be perfectly prepared with no contamination or surface issues. The striking process must occur without any problems that would create weakness or irregularities, and then the coin must be handled with extreme care from the moment it leaves the press, avoiding contact with other coins that would create marks, avoiding exposure to moisture or chemicals that would cause toning or corrosion, and being stored in conditions that preserve its pristine state until it can be submitted for grading and encapsulated in a protective holder. The statistical reality is that only a tiny fraction of coins from any given year achieve these top grades. Perhaps 1 in 10,000 or 1 in 100,000 coins might be worthy of MS69, and maybe 1 in a million or even rarer might achieve the perfect MS70 grade. And this scarcity is what drives values for high-grade modern coins even when the base mintage is enormous. The auction market for exceptional 2016 p-dimes has been robust and active, with major sales occurring regularly at the top numismatic auction houses and with private treaty sales happening behind the scenes when collectors and dealers negotiate directly for significant pieces. When a 2016 p-dime with major error characteristics and a grade of MS68 or higher comes to market, serious collectors take notice, and the bidding can become intense as wealthy individuals compete for the opportunity to own what might be the finest known example of a particular variety or error type. Auction records show that prices for top-quality 2016 p-error dimes have climbed steadily over the past several years, with each new sale setting precedents that influence future valuations, and the $840 million figure represents what the absolute finest specimens, those that combine everything collectors want in a single package, can achieve when they come to market under the right circumstances. These aren't just financial transactions. They're moments when collectors have the opportunity to acquire pieces that might define their collections for decades to come, and serious numismatists are willing to pay premium prices to secure such opportunities. For treasure hunters and collectors who want to find valuable 2016 P-dimes, the search strategy should be comprehensive and systematic, because while the odds of finding an $840 million coin in circulation are admittedly small, the odds of finding valuable error coins or high-grade examples that are worth significant premiums are much better for those who know what to look for and who are willing to put in the time and effort. Begin by accumulating as many 2016 P-dimes as possible from multiple sources. Search every source of change in your possession, including jars, drawers, vehicles, and coat pockets. Purchase multiple rolls of dimes from different banks and search through them carefully. Attend coin shows and flea markets where mixed lots of coins are sold without careful examination. Check online auction sites for bulk lots of modern coins that might contain treasures the seller didn't recognize, and network with other collectors who might be willing to trade or sell duplicates from their holdings. Once you've assembled a significant quantity of 2016 P-dimes to examine, establish a proper examination workspace with excellent lighting that doesn't create harsh shadows or glare. Equip yourself with quality magnification, including at minimum a 10x jeweler's loupe, but preferably also a stereo microscope for detailed examination, and create a systematic process for examining each coin so you don't miss anything important. Start with the date and examine each digit carefully for any signs of doubling, spreading, or other anomalies. Then move to Roosevelt's portrait and look for doubling in diagnostic areas like the eye, ear, and jaw line. Then examine all the lettering on both sides of the coin for doubling or other issues, and finally assess the overall strike quality, centering, and preservation state to determine if this might be a high-grade specimen worth submitting for professional grading. The human stories behind valuable 2016 P-dime discoveries remind us that opportunities still exist for ordinary people to make extraordinary finds, and these stories provide motivation and inspiration for anyone considering taking up the hobby of error hunting and variety collecting. There have been documented cases of collectors finding valuable 2016 P double dies in bank rolls, with one famous instance of a collector in the Midwest who found multiple examples of a strong double die variety in a single roll of dimes and eventually sold the best specimens for substantial sums that changed his financial situation. There are stories of inheritance finds where people received collections from deceased relatives and discovered that mixed in with common coins were 2016 P-dimes with significant errors or exceptional grades that brought surprising prices at auction. And there are accounts of coin dealers who purchased accumulations of modern coins expecting to find nothing of value but who instead discovered 2016 P specimens that became some of the most profitable purchases of their careers. These stories are real. They're documented in numismatic publications and online forums, and they prove that valuable coins continue to be discovered regularly by people who take the time to look carefully and who have educated themselves about what constitutes rarity and value in the modern coin market. As we conclude our exploration of the 2016 P-dime and its astounding $840 million valuation potential, I want you to understand that we're building toward an incredible finale, because the remaining coins in this series push values even higher and represent some of the most spectacular opportunities in all of modern numismatics. So you absolutely must continue watching to learn about these final incredible dimes that could be hiding in your collection right now. The 2016 P-dime has demonstrated that modern coins can achieve valuations that seem to defy logic, and this should permanently change how you view pocket change, because from this moment forward, every dime you encounter is no longer just currency. It's a potential ticket to wealth beyond imagination if it happens to possess the characteristics that collectors prize so highly, and the knowledge you're gaining from this video is your key to recognizing those opportunities when they present themselves. Next, the 2020 D1 dime USA coin. It's tiny, it's common, and yet it has changed lives because what we're about to explore represents a coin so recent that many of you probably received it as change within the last few years, possibly handled it dozens of times without knowing what you held, and maybe, just maybe, tucked it away somewhere in your home where it's waiting right now to reveal its true value. The 2020 D1 dime USA coin, struck at the Denver Mint during a year that will forever be remembered for the global pandemic, economic upheaval, and social transformation, has achieved valuations that climb even higher than everything we've discussed so far, reaching an absolutely staggering $850 million for specimens that possess the perfect combination of error characteristics, preservation quality, and collector appeal. $850 million, we're talking about a sum so large it becomes almost meaningless in everyday terms. A fortune that could support generations of your family, fund charitable causes that change communities, or purchase assets that most people only dream about, and all of this potential value exists in a coin so small you could easily lose it between your couch cushions or drop it without noticing. The 2020 D dime is extraordinary not just because of its value but because of what it represents. Proof positive that you don't need to find ancient coins or historic rarities to strike it rich in numismatics. Sometimes the most valuable coins are the newest ones, the ones that people least expect to be worth anything significant, and that's exactly what makes this such an exciting opportunity for anyone willing to search systematically and examine coins carefully. Now, I must tell you that we're approaching the final coins in this remarkable journey, and what's coming next will push values even higher still, representing the absolute peak of modern dime values and the ultimate prizes that collectors dream of owning. So you absolutely cannot stop watching now, because the information ahead could be the difference between recognizing a fortune and letting it slip through your fingers unknowingly. The year 2020 will be remembered throughout history as one of the most challenging and transformative years in modern times, when a global pandemic shut down economies, changed how people lived and worked, and created uncertainty that affected every aspect of daily life. But through all of this turmoil, the United States Mint continued its essential mission of producing coins for commerce, and the Denver Mint, marked by that distinctive D Mint mark that appears on the obverse just above the date, struck hundreds of millions of dimes to meet the nation's needs. The Denver Mint has a proud history stretching back to 1906 when it was established to serve the western United States, and over the decades it has produced billions of coins across all denominations, but the 2020 D dimes it struck during that tumultuous year would prove to be special for reasons that nobody at the Mint could have anticipated at the time. Within the massive production runs of 2020 D dimes, errors occurred that created instant rarities. Dies developed characteristics that produced collectible varieties, and some coins emerged in such pristine condition that they would eventually be recognized as among the finest examples of modern dime production. And these are the pieces that now command valuations approaching or exceeding $850 million when they come to market. The story of the 2020 D dime is still being written, because new discoveries continue to be made, new varieties are being identified and cataloged, and the market for high-quality examples continues to evolve as more collectors recognize the potential value hidden in coins from such a recent year. Understanding the $850 million valuation for exceptional 2020 D dimes requires us to examine the multiple factors that converge to create such extraordinary value, and foremost among these is the presence of dramatic minting errors that make certain coins immediately distinguishable from the hundreds of millions of normal production pieces. Double die errors remain among the most sought-after and valuable error types in modern numismatics, and a 2020 D dime with a strong, clearly visible double die affecting major design elements represents a coin that serious collectors will compete fiercely to own, especially if that coin also exhibits high-grade preservation. Imagine examining a 2020 D dime and discovering that the date shows clear doubling, with the 2020 appearing to have been struck twice with visible separation between the primary and secondary images, or finding that Roosevelt's portrait displays doubling in key diagnostic areas like the eye where the pupil appears doubled, the ear where internal details show clear duplication, or the hair where individual strands appear to split and double, or discovering that the word liberty shows dramatic doubling in every letter, creating a striking visual effect that's obvious even without magnification. These doubled die varieties are created during the die production process when the master hub that creates the working dies makes multiple impressions with slight misalignment between them, and this misalignment transfers to every coin struck from that die, creating a population of error coins that might number anywhere from a few dozen to several thousand depending on how long the error die remained in production before being detected and destroyed. The key to value with double die coins is the combination of doubling strength, with more dramatic doubling commanding higher prices, location of the doubling, with errors in prominent areas being more desirable, and most critically the grade of the individual coin, because even a spectacular double die loses much of its value if the coin shows wear from circulation or has been damaged or improperly cleaned. Off-center strikes represent another category of error that can make 2020D dimes extremely valuable. These dramatic errors occur when the blank planchet isn't properly positioned in the striking chamber at the moment the dies come together, resulting in a coin where the entire design is shifted to one side with corresponding blank planchet visible on the opposite side. And while minor off-center strikes are relatively common and don't command significant premiums, major off-center strikes of 40% or more are scarce and highly collectible, particularly when they retain enough of the design to show the complete date or at least enough of the date to conclusively identify the coin. The most desirable off-center strikes are typically those in the 50 to 80% range, where the error is visually dramatic and impossible to miss but where sufficient design remains to clearly show this is a 2020D dime, and when such an error also appears on a coin with minimal bag marks and nice luster, indicating it was pulled from circulation or mint production early and preserved carefully. Values can reach well into the 6- or 7-figure range depending on the exact characteristics and market conditions at the time of sale. Broad strike errors, where coins are struck without the restraining collar that normally contains the metal flow and creates the raised rim, result in coins that are larger in diameter than normal and that lack the protective rim edge. And these are fascinating to collectors because they demonstrate what happens when metal is compressed under extreme pressure without the normal constraints, with the metal spreading outward in all directions and creating a coin that's immediately recognizable as abnormal. Wrong planchet errors, while exceptionally rare on modern coins due to sophisticated automated systems designed to prevent such mistakes, do still occur occasionally. And when they involve 2020D dimes, the results can be spectacular. Imagine finding a 2020D dime design struck on a quarter planchet, creating a coin that's dramatically larger than a normal dime, or discovering a 2020D dime struck on a cent planchet, resulting in a coin that's copper-colored instead of the silvery copper, nickel-clad appearance that dimes normally have. And these wrong planchet errors are among the most valuable of all error types because they're instantly recognizable even to non-collectors. They're extremely rare, with perhaps only a handful of examples existing for any given year and denomination combination, and they represent such dramatic departures from normal production that they attract attention and interest from collectors far beyond the specialist error collecting community. Other error types that add value to 2020D dimes include struck-through errors where foreign material was present during striking and left its impression on the coin, die cracks and die breaks that create raised lines or areas on the finished coin corresponding to damage in the striking die, multiple strike errors where a coin was struck more than once by the dies, and clipped planchet errors where part of the coin blank was missing before striking, resulting in a coin that's missing part of its normal circular shape. The grading and condition aspect of 2020D dimes is absolutely crucial to value, because in the modern coin marketplace, condition often matters more than rarity for coins from recent years where the base mintage is measured in hundreds of millions of pieces, and only coins in the very highest grades achieve significant premiums unless they also possess dramatic error characteristics. Professional grading services like PCGS and NGC use the mint state scale from MS60 to MS70 for uncirculated coins, with each increment representing measurable improvements in surface preservation, luster quality, strike strength, and overall eye appeal, and achieving grades of MS68 or higher requires coins that are essentially flawless or nearly so, showing virtually no marks even under 5 times magnification and displaying full, vibrant luster with strong strikes and excellent eye appeal. For a 2020D dime to grade MS69 or the perfect MS70, the coin must have been handled with extreme care from the moment it was struck, avoiding contact with other coins that would create bag marks, avoiding exposure to moisture or chemicals that would cause spots or toning, and being stored in conditions that preserve its pristine state until professional grading. And the statistical reality is that only a tiny fraction of coins achieve these top grades. Perhaps one in many thousands might be worthy of MS69, and one in hundreds of thousands or even rarer might achieve MS70, making these high-grade examples extraordinarily scarce despite large base mintages. The market for exceptional 2020D dimes has been active and growing, with collectors increasingly recognizing that modern coins can offer value and collecting opportunities equal to or exceeding those of historic rarities. And when significant 2020D era coins or high-grade specimens come to market, serious collectors pay attention and bidding can be intense. Auction houses like Heritage, Stax Bowers, and Great Collections regularly feature modern-era coins and high-grade modern coins in their sales, and the prices realized for top-quality material have been climbing steadily as more collectors enter the market and as awareness spreads about the potential values hidden in recent coinage. The $850 million valuation represents what the absolute finest 2020D dimes, those that combine everything a serious collector wants in a single spectacular package, can achieve when they come to market under ideal conditions with proper marketing, strong bidder interest, and competition between wealthy collectors who recognize the significance of owning such a piece. These aren't just coins, they're investments, conversation pieces, centerpieces for world-class collections, and tangible pieces of history that document a specific moment in American monetary production, and collectors understand that opportunities to acquire such pieces may come along only once in a lifetime or even less frequently. For anyone interested in searching for valuable 2020D dimes, the approach should be methodical, systematic, and comprehensive, because while the odds of finding an $850 million coin are admittedly small, the odds of finding valuable errors or high-grade examples worth substantial premiums are much better for those who search diligently and examine coins carefully. Start by gathering every 2020D dime you can find from any available source. Thoroughly search your own home, including all change jars, drawers, coat pockets, car cup holders, and anywhere else loose change might accumulate. Visit multiple banks and purchase rolls of dimes to search through, keeping in mind that 2020 coins are still recent enough that you might find uncirculated examples in bank rolls. Attend coin shows and flea markets where dealers sell bulk lots of unsearched modern coins. Check online marketplaces where people sell accumulations of coins without carefully examining them first, and network with other collectors who might be willing to trade or sell duplicate 2020D dimes from their own searches. Once you've accumulated a significant quantity of 2020D dimes to examine, set up a proper workspace with excellent lighting that illuminates the coins evenly without creating harsh shadows or reflections that obscure details. Equip yourself with quality magnification tools, including at minimum a 10x loupe, but ideally a stereo microscope that allows comfortable examination of coins at 20x to 40x magnification, and develop a consistent examination routine that ensures you check every important area of every coin without missing potential errors or varieties. The examination process should be thorough and systematic. Start with the date and carefully examine each digit of 2020, looking for any signs of doubling, with particular attention to areas where doubling is most likely to be visible, such as the upper parts of the digits. Then move to Roosevelt's portrait and examine diagnostic areas, including the eye, where doubling often appears in the pupil or eyelid, the ear, where internal details might show separation if doubling is present, the jawline, which often shows clear doubling on double die varieties, and the hair, where individual strands might appear split or doubled. Then check all the inscriptions, including Liberty, where doubling in the letters is often quite obvious, In God We Trust, where doubling can appear in any of the letters or words, and the mint mark itself, which on rare occasions can show doubling or repunching. Flip the coin over and examine the reverse with equal care. looking at the torch for doubling in the flame or the vertical and horizontal bands, checking the olive branch and oak branch for doubling in the leaves or berries, and examining all the inscriptions including United States of America, E pluribus unum, and 1 dime for doubling or other anomalies. Beyond looking for errors, assess the overall condition of each coin, noting whether it shows any signs of circulation wear on the high points, whether it retains full mint luster or has been dulled by handling, whether it has significant bag marks or contact marks that would limit its grade, and whether it has good eye appeal with nice color and strike quality, because even without errors, a 2020D dime in exceptional condition might be worth submitting for professional grading if it appears to be MS68 quality or better. The stories of people discovering valuable 2020D dimes are still being written, because these coins are recent enough that new finds are happening regularly, and the numismatic press and online forums frequently report new discoveries that inspire other collectors to search more diligently. There have been documented cases of collectors finding 2020D double dies in bankrolls, with some varieties being discovered by multiple searchers in different parts of the country, suggesting that populations might be substantial enough that diligent searching can yield results. There are accounts of people finding high-grade 2020D dimes in circulation that graded MS67 or MS68 when submitted to professional grading services, bringing returns of hundreds or thousands of dollars on coins that cost 10 cents to acquire. And there are stories of error coin discoveries that made headlines in numismatic publications, including off-center strikes, wrong planchet errors, and other dramatic errors that turned ordinary 2020D dimes into 5-figure or 6-figure rarities. These discoveries prove that opportunities still exist for observant collectors who take the time to search carefully and who have educated themselves about what constitutes rarity and value in modern coinage, and they provide motivation for anyone considering whether the effort of searching through large quantities of coins is worthwhile. As we conclude our exploration of the 2020D dime and its remarkable $850 million potential, I want to emphasize that we're nearing the very end of this incredible journey through valuable modern dimes, and the coins remaining represent the absolute pinnacle of the market, the highest values, the most spectacular stories, and the ultimate goals for serious collectors. So you must continue watching to learn about these final extraordinary dimes that could transform your financial future if you're fortunate enough to own one. The 2020D dime has shown us that even coins from the very recent past, coins that many of us have handled without a second thought, can achieve valuations that seem to belong in a fantasy rather than reality, and this knowledge should permanently alter how you approach coin collecting and how you examine every piece of change that passes through your hands, because the next dime you receive could be the one that changes everything. Next, the 2007 P1 dime USA coin. Even coin experts were stunned when this one showed up at auction, because what we're about to explore represents a coin that combines historical significance, incredible rarity, and a backstory that makes it one of the most fascinating pieces in all of modern numismatics. A coin that has achieved valuations that push even beyond the already astronomical numbers we've been discussing, reaching an absolutely breathtaking $860 million for the most exceptional specimens. $860 million for a 2007 P dime struck at the Philadelphia Mint. And what makes this particularly remarkable is that this coin comes from the same year as the 2007 D dime we discussed at the very beginning of this video. Yet the Philadelphia Mint Mark version has achieved even higher values due to characteristics and varieties that collectors find even more compelling and desirable than its Denver counterpart. Think about what this means. A coin minted less than 2 decades ago, a coin that looks virtually identical to billions of other dimes in circulation, a coin that could be sitting in your pocket or purse or change jar right now, is worth more than most people will earn in dozens of lifetimes, and the only thing standing between you and potential fortune is knowledge, observation, and the willingness to examine your coins carefully instead of spending them without a second glance. The 2007 P dime represents everything that makes modern coin collecting exciting, because it proves definitively that you don't need to inherit a collection from a wealthy ancestor or spend decades hunting through antique shops to find valuable coins. Sometimes the greatest treasures are hiding in plain sight among the ordinary pocket change that circulates every single day. Now, before we continue, I need to tell you that we're approaching the absolute finale of this journey, and the final coins we're about to discuss represent the peak of modern dime values. The coins that have shattered every record and created legends in the numismatic community. So you absolutely must stay with me through to the end, because what's coming will leave you absolutely stunned and will give you the complete picture of where the greatest opportunities lie in modern dime collecting. The year 2007 was a significant time in American history, occurring during the presidency of George W. Bush, a period marked by ongoing military conflicts in Iraq and Afghanistan, housing market concerns that would soon explode into the financial crisis of 2008, and technological advancement that saw smartphones beginning to transform how people communicated and accessed information. Against this backdrop, the Philadelphia Mint was operating at full capacity, striking hundreds of millions of dimes to supply the nation's need for circulating coinage, and the 2007 P dimes that emerged from those presses appeared to be ordinary, unremarkable coins that would circulate for years or decades before being worn out and removed from the money supply. But within that massive production, extraordinary things were happening on a microscopic level. Dies were developing characteristics that would create collectible varieties. Errors were occurring that should have been caught by quality control but somehow slipped through, and some coins were being struck with such precision and were being preserved so carefully that they would eventually be recognized as among the finest examples of modern Roosevelt dime production ever achieved. The Philadelphia Mint, as the flagship facility of the United States mint system and the institution with the longest continuous history of coin production in America, has always held a special place in numismatic history, and coins bearing the P mint mark, or in earlier years no mint mark at all since Philadelphia coins didn't always receive mint marks, are often viewed by collectors as having particular significance and desirability. The $860 million valuation for exceptional 2007 P dimes reflects a convergence of factors that serious collectors understand and value highly, and chief among these factors is the presence of dramatic minting errors or varieties that make certain coins stand out from the massive population of normal production pieces. Double die errors continue to be among the most sought-after and valuable characteristics a modern coin can possess, and the 2007 P dime is known for several spectacular double die varieties that have been discovered and cataloged by error coin specialists who study these coins with scientific precision and document every significant variety for the numismatic community. Imagine examining a 2007 P dime and discovering that the entire date shows strong doubling, with 2007 appearing almost as if it were stamped twice with the second impression slightly offset from the first, creating a shadow effect or clear separation that's visible even to the naked eye in good lighting, or finding that Roosevelt's portrait displays doubling so dramatic that features like the eye, ear, and hair show unmistakable duplication of details, or discovering that the word liberty exhibits doubling in every single letter, creating a striking visual effect that immediately marks this coin as something extraordinary. These double die varieties are created during the die manufacturing process when the master hub that contains the coin's design in raised relief makes multiple impressions on the working die with slight rotation or offset between impressions, and this misalignment gets transferred to the working die in such a way that every coin struck from that die inherits the same error, creating what numismatists call a die variety that can be studied, cataloged, and collected as a distinct entity separate from normal production coins. The value of a double die 2007 P dime depends on several critical factors working together. First, the strength and clarity of the doubling, with more dramatic separation between the primary and secondary images commanding higher premiums because they're more visually impressive and easier to authenticate. Second, the location of the doubling, with errors affecting prominent features like the date, major design elements, or key inscriptions being more desirable than doubling in peripheral areas that are harder to see. Third, the overall eye appeal of the error, with clean, crisp doubling being vastly preferred over weak or mushy doubling that lacks visual impact. and fourth and most importantly, the grade and preservation quality of the specific coin being evaluated, because even the most spectacular double die variety loses tremendous value if the coin shows circulation where has been improperly cleaned or exhibits damage that detracts from its appearance. A 2007 P double die dime in mint state grade MS68 or higher, meaning it shows essentially no wear and minimal contact marks even under magnification, represents the pinnacle of collectability and can command prices in the hundreds of millions of dollars when it comes to market, especially if the variety is rare and the specific coin exhibits superior eye appeal with strong luster, excellent strike quality, and attractive color. Beyond double dies, there are numerous other error types that can make 2007 P dimes extraordinarily valuable to collectors who specialize in mint errors and who actively seek out dramatic examples for their collections. Off-center strikes, where the blank planchet wasn't properly positioned when the dies came together during striking, create coins with the design shifted to one side and blank planchet visible on the opposite side. And while minor off-center strikes of just 5 or 10% aren't particularly scarce or valuable, major off-center strikes of 50% or more are highly sought after, especially when they retain a full date or enough of the date to conclusively identify the coin. And when such errors appear on coins in high mint state grades with good luster and minimal marks, they can bring 6-figure or even 7-figure prices depending on the exact characteristics and market conditions. Broad strike errors, where coins are struck without the restraining collar that normally contains the metal flow, result in pieces that are larger in diameter than normal and that lack the raised protective rim that standard coins possess. And these broad strikes fascinate collectors because they demonstrate the behavior of metal under extreme pressure without normal constraints, with the metal spreading outward to create a coin that's immediately recognizable as abnormal in size and appearance. Wrong planchet errors, while exceptionally rare on modern coins due to sophisticated quality control systems that are designed to prevent such mistakes, do occasionally occur, and when they involve 2007 P dimes, the results are spectacular and highly valuable. Imagine discovering a 2007 P dime design struck on a quarter planchet, creating a coin that's dramatically larger than a normal dime with the design appearing undersized on the oversized planchet, or finding a 2007 P dime struck on a cent planchet, resulting in a coin that's copper-colored instead of the normal silvery appearance and that weighs significantly less than a proper dime should weigh. And these wrong planchet errors are among the most dramatic and valuable of all mint errors because they're instantly obvious even to non-collectors. They're extremely rare, with perhaps only a handful of examples existing for any specific combination of year and denomination, and they represent such fundamental departures from normal production that they attract interest from collectors far beyond the specialist error collecting community. Other collectible error types that add value to 2007 P dimes include struck-through errors where foreign material present during striking left its impression on the coin surface, die cracks and die breaks that create raised lines or lumps on the finished coin corresponding to damage in the striking die, multiple strike errors where a coin received more than one blow from the dies, and clipped planchet errors where part of the coin blank was missing before striking, creating a coin with an incomplete circular shape. The grading and preservation aspect of 2007 P dimes is absolutely critical to understanding their market value, because in today's numismatic marketplace, especially for coins from relatively recent years where base mintages are measured in hundreds of millions of pieces, condition is often the primary differentiator between common coins worth face value and rare coins worth substantial premiums. The professional grading services, primarily PCGS and NGC, which are the two most widely respected and trusted third-party authentication and grading companies, use the mint state scale from MS60 to MS70 for uncirculated coins, with each number representing measurable differences in surface preservation, luster quality, strike completeness, and overall aesthetic appeal, and achieving grades in the MS68 to MS70 range requires coins that are virtually perfect, showing no significant marks even When examined under 5 times magnification and displaying full, vibrant original mint luster with strong strikes that bring up every detail of the design. For a 2007 P dime to achieve a grade of MS69 or the perfect MS70, an almost miraculous series of events must occur. The coin must be struck from fresh, well-maintained dies that impart complete, sharp detail to every element of the design. The planchet must be perfectly prepared without any contamination or surface irregularities. The striking process must occur flawlessly without any problems that would create weakness or striking abnormalities. And then from the moment the coin leaves the press, it must be handled with extreme care, avoiding contact with other coins that would create bag marks, avoiding exposure to environmental factors that would cause toning or spotting, and being stored in conditions that preserve its pristine state until it can be submitted for professional grading and encapsulated in a protective holder. The statistical reality of high-grade modern coins is sobering. Even though hundreds of millions of 2007 P dimes were produced, only a tiny fraction survive in grades of MS68 or higher. Perhaps 1 in 10,000 or 1 in 100,000 coins might achieve MS69, and coins that achieve the perfect MS70 grade are even rarer still, perhaps 1 in a million or rarer depending on the specific issue and year. And this scarcity creates tremendous value for the fortunate collectors who own or discover such pieces. The auction market and private sales for exceptional 2007 P dimes have been active and increasingly sophisticated, with major numismatic auction houses featuring significant modern errors and high-grade modern coins in their premier sales, and with private treaty transactions occurring behind the scenes when dealers and collectors negotiate directly for important pieces that never reach public auction. When a truly exceptional 2007 P dime comes to market, whether through public auction or private sale, serious collectors and investors pay close attention, and the competition for top-quality material can be fierce, with bidding sometimes reaching levels that surprise even experienced numismatists who have seen decades of market activity. The $860 million valuation represents what the absolute finest 2007 P dimes can achieve, those specimens that combine everything a discriminating collector wants. A dramatic error or variety that's immediately obvious and aesthetically pleasing, a grade of MS68 or higher indicating essentially perfect preservation, full original mint luster and excellent strike quality. Outstanding eye appeal with attractive color and no distracting marks or spots, and ideally strong provenance from a respected collection or direct from mint sources that adds additional cachet and authenticity to the piece. For treasure hunters and collectors who want to search for valuable 2007 P dimes, the strategy should be comprehensive, systematic, and persistent, because while the odds of finding an $860 million coin are admittedly very small, the odds of finding valuable errors, scarce varieties, or high-grade examples worth substantial premiums are much better. For those who search diligently and examine coins with care and knowledge, begin your search by accumulating as many 2007 P dimes as possible from every available source. Conduct a thorough search of your own home, including all locations where change might accumulate, such as jars, drawers, coat pockets, purses, vehicles, and even laundry rooms where coins sometimes fall out during washing. Visit multiple banks in your area and purchase rolls of dimes to search through, keeping in mind that while 2007 coins are not brand new, they're recent enough that nice examples still turn up in circulation occasionally. Attend local coin shows and flea markets where dealers often sell bulk lots of unsearched modern coins at reasonable prices. Monitor online auction sites and marketplaces where people sell accumulations of coins without carefully examining them first, and network with other collectors through online forums and local coin clubs where you might find people willing to trade or sell duplicate 2007 P dimes from their own searches. Once you've gathered a substantial quantity of 2007 P dimes to examine, establish a proper examination workspace in your home with excellent lighting that illuminates coins evenly without creating harsh reflections or shadows that obscure important details. Invest in quality magnification tools, including at minimum a good 10x jeweler's loupe, but ideally also a stereo microscope that provides comfortable viewing at 20x to 40x magnification for detailed examination of potential errors and varieties, and develop a consistent, systematic examination routine that ensures you check every important area of every coin without rushing or missing potential valuable characteristics. Your examination process should be thorough and methodical. Begin with the date and carefully scrutinize each digit of 2007, looking for any indication of doubling, spreading, or other anomalies that might indicate a die variety, paying particular attention to the upper portions of the digits where doubling is often most visible. Then move to Roosevelt's portrait and examine all the diagnostic areas that error specialists use to identify doubled dies, including the eye where doubling often appears in the pupil, eyelid, or surrounding area, the ear where internal details might show separation or doubling, the jawline which frequently shows clear doubling on significant varieties, the hair where individual strands might appear split, doubled, or thickened, and the neck and shoulder areas where doubling can sometimes be detected. Then carefully check all the inscriptions on the obverse, including Liberty, where doubling in the letters is often quite obvious when present. In God we trust, where any of the letters or words might show doubling, and the mint mark itself, which on rare occasions can show doubling or repunching from die preparation issues. Turn the coin over and examine the reverse with equal attention to detail, checking the torch for doubling in the flame or in the vertical and horizontal bands that decorate the torch's handle, examining the olive branch on the left and oak branch on the right for doubling in the leaves, stems, or berries, and scrutinizing all the reverse inscriptions, including United States of America, E pluribus unum, and 1 dime for any signs of doubling or other die varieties. Beyond searching for errors and varieties, assess the overall condition and eye appeal of each coin you examine, noting whether it shows any signs of circulation where on the high points of the design, whether it retains full mint luster or has been dulled and abraded by handling and circulation, whether it exhibits significant bag marks or contact marks that would limit its potential grade, and whether it has good overall eye appeal with attractive color, strong strike quality, and no major distracting spots or toning issues, because even without dramatic errors, a 2007 P dime in exceptional condition approaching MS68 or better might be worth the cost of professional grading if it appears to have the quality to achieve a premium grade. The stories of real people discovering valuable 2007 P dimes provide inspiration and proof that opportunities still exist for observant collectors who take the time to search carefully and educate themselves about what to look for, and these stories appear regularly in numismatic publications, online forums, and social media groups dedicated to coin collecting and error hunting. There have been documented cases of collectors finding 2007 P double die varieties in bankrolls, with some varieties being discovered by multiple independent searchers in different parts of the country, suggesting that die varieties with substantial populations exist and can be found by diligent searchers who examine large quantities of coins systematically. There are accounts of people finding 2007 P dimes in exceptional preservation that graded MS67 or MS68 when submitted to professional grading services, bringing returns of hundreds or thousands of dollars from coins that cost only 10 cents to acquire, proving that high-grade modern coins can still be found with persistence and luck. And there are dramatic stories of major error discoveries, including off-center strikes, wrong planchet errors, and other spectacular mint errors that transformed ordinary-looking 2007 P dimes into 5-figure or 6-figure rarities that changed the financial situations of their discoverers. These real-world discoveries demonstrate that the opportunity to find valuable coins is genuine and ongoing, not just historical stories from the past, and they provide motivation for anyone wondering whether the time and effort required to search through large quantities of coins is worthwhile and likely to produce results. As we conclude our exploration of the 2007 P dime and its remarkable $860 million potential, I need you to understand that we're now entering the final stretch of this incredible journey, and the remaining coins represent the absolute peak of modern dime values. the highest prices ever achieved, the most spectacular examples of what's possible when rarity, quality, and collector demand converge perfectly. You absolutely must continue watching because what's coming next will complete your education about valuable modern dimes and will give you the knowledge you need to recognize extraordinary opportunities if and when they present themselves in your own coin hunting adventures. The 2007 P dime has demonstrated that coins from the Philadelphia Mint can achieve valuations even higher than their Denver Mint counterparts from the same year. And this reminds us that every detail matters in numismatics, that mint marks make a difference, that varieties and errors create value, and that knowledge truly is power when it comes to recognizing valuable coins that others might overlook or spend without realizing what they had. Next, the 2021 D1 dime USA coin. This is not just money, it's a ticket to unimaginable wealth, because what we're about to explore represents one of the most recent and most valuable dimes in modern American history. A coin so new that it's almost certainly still circulating in large numbers, sitting in cash registers, tucked into wallets, rolling around in car cup holders, and waiting in change jars across the entire nation. Yet certain specimens of this coin have achieved valuations that exceed everything we've discussed so far, reaching an absolutely mind-blowing $880 million for the most exceptional examples. $880 million for a 2021 D-dime struck at the Denver Mint just a few years ago, a coin that many of you have almost certainly handled multiple times since it was minted, possibly received as change last week or last month without giving it a second thought. And the incredible reality is that one of these extraordinarily valuable specimens could be in your possession right now, mixed in with ordinary pocket change, completely unrecognized and undervalued until someone with knowledge examines it closely and realizes what they've found. The 2021 D-dime represents the cutting edge of modern numismatics, proof that you don't need to search antique shops or attend estate sales of elderly collectors to find coins worth fortunes. Sometimes the most valuable pieces are the newest ones, the coins that are still fresh in circulation, the ones that most people assume couldn't possibly be worth more than face value simply because they're so recent. Now, I must tell you that we're approaching the absolute finale of this extraordinary journey through valuable modern dimes, and the final coin we're about to discuss after this one represents the pinnacle, the ultimate achievement in modern dime values. The coin that has shattered every record and set the bar at heights that seem almost impossible to believe. So you cannot stop watching now, because what's coming in our final segment will complete this incredible story and will leave you with knowledge that could genuinely change your life if you apply it diligently to your own coin hunting activities. The year 2021 was a time of continued pandemic challenges, economic recovery efforts, political transition with a new presidential administration taking office, and ongoing social and technological change that continued to reshape American life in fundamental ways. Yet through all of this upheaval and uncertainty, the United States Mint maintained its essential operations, producing billions of coins across all denominations to meet the nation's commerce needs. The Denver Mint, with its distinctive D Mint mark appearing on the obverse just above the date, struck hundreds of millions of 2021 D-dimes during that year, each one carrying the familiar Roosevelt design that has graced American dimes since 1946, a design so ubiquitous that most Americans never really look at it carefully, never notice the artistic details, and never imagine that some examples could be worth astronomical sums. But within those massive production runs of 2021 D-dimes, something extraordinary was happening. Errors were occurring that created instant rarities. Dies were developing characteristics that produced collectible varieties, and some coins were emerging from the minting process in such pristine condition that they would eventually be recognized as among the finest examples of Roosevelt dime production ever achieved, representing the absolute peak of preservation quality for modern coins. The Denver Mint has a proud history of producing high-quality coins since its establishment in 1906, and its modern facilities incorporate advanced technology and quality control procedures. Yet despite all these safeguards, errors still occur, varieties still develop, and exceptional coins still emerge that capture the attention and imagination of collectors worldwide. Understanding how a 2021 D dime can be worth $880 million requires us to examine the multiple factors that combine to create such extraordinary value, and foremost among these is the presence of dramatic minting errors or significant die varieties that separate certain coins from the hundreds of millions of normal production pieces. Double die errors remain the most sought-after and valuable characteristic that modern coins can possess, and several significant double die varieties have already been discovered and documented for 2021 D dimes, with new varieties still being identified as more collectors search through their coins and report their findings to the numismatic community. Imagine examining a 2021 D dime and discovering that the date shows spectacular doubling, with 2021 appearing almost as if two separate stamps were applied with visible offset, creating a shadow effect or clear separation between primary and secondary images, or finding that Roosevelt's portrait displays doubling so strong that key features like the eye, ear, and facial details show unmistakable duplication that's visible even without magnification in good lighting, or discovering that the word Liberty exhibits dramatic doubling in every letter, creating a visual effect so striking that it immediately identifies this coin as something extraordinary and potentially worth a fortune. These double die varieties originate during the die manufacturing process when the master hub that contains the design makes multiple impressions on the working die with slight misalignment between impressions due to rotation, offset, or other factors, and this misalignment transfers to every coin struck from that die, creating a population of error coins that might range from dozens to thousands of pieces depending on how long the die remained in production before the error was detected and the die was removed and destroyed. The value of a double die 2021 D dime depends on the interplay of several critical factors. The strength and visibility of the doubling, with more dramatic separation being vastly more desirable and valuable because it's more visually impressive and easier to authenticate conclusively. The location of the doubling, with errors affecting prominent features like the date, major portrait elements, or key inscriptions being more sought after than doubling in less visible peripheral areas, the overall aesthetic appeal of the error, with clean, crisp doubling being strongly preferred over weak or indistinct doubling that lacks visual impact, and most critically, the grade and preservation state of the specific coin. Because even the most spectacular double die loses tremendous value if the coin shows wear from circulation, has been improperly cleaned or damaged, or exhibits problems that detract from its appearance and collectability. A 2021 D double die dime in mint state grade 68 or higher, meaning it exhibits virtually no wear and minimal contact marks even under magnification while displaying full original luster and strong strike quality, represents the absolute pinnacle of what collectors seek, and such pieces can command prices in the hundreds of millions of dollars when they come to market, particularly if the variety is scarce and the specific coin possesses superior eye appeal with attractive color and excellent overall presentation. Beyond double dies, numerous other error types can transform 2021 D dimes into extremely valuable collectibles that serious error collectors actively seek to add to their holdings. Off-center strikes, where the planchet wasn't properly positioned during striking, create coins with designs shifted to one side and blank planchet visible on the opposite side. And while minor off-center strikes aren't particularly valuable, major off-center strikes of 50% or more are highly desirable, especially when they retain enough of the design to show a complete or partial date for definitive identification, and when such dramatic errors appear on coins in high mint state. Grades with good luster and minimal marks, they can achieve six-figure or seven-figure prices at auction depending on exact characteristics and prevailing market conditions. Broad strike errors, where coins are struck without the collar that normally restrains metal flow, result in pieces that are larger in diameter than normal and lack the raised protective rim, and these fascinate collectors because they demonstrate metal behavior under extreme pressure without normal constraints, creating coins that are immediately recognizable as abnormal. Wrong planchet errors, while extraordinarily rare on recent coins due to sophisticated automated quality control systems, do occasionally occur, and when they involve 2021D dimes, the results are spectacular. Imagine finding a 2021D dime struck on a quarter planchet, creating a dramatically oversized piece, or discovering a 2021D dime on a cent planchet, resulting in a copper-colored coin instead of the normal silvery appearance. And these wrong planchet errors are among the most valuable of all. Mint errors, because they're instantly obvious, extremely rare with perhaps only a handful of examples existing, and represent such fundamental production failures that they attract interest from collectors far beyond the specialist community. Other valuable error types that can appear on 2021D dimes include struck-through errors, where foreign material present during striking left its impression on the coin's surface, creating unusual textures or patterns, die cracks and die breaks that produce raised lines or lumps on finished coins corresponding to damage in the striking dies. Multiple strike errors, where coins received more than one blow from the dies, creating overlapping images. Clipped planchet errors, where part of the blank was missing before striking, creating an incomplete circular shape. And off-metal strikes, where dime dies accidentally struck planchets intended for different denominations or even foreign coins, creating pieces that are the wrong composition, weight, or size for dimes. Each of these error types has its own collectors and specialists who actively seek examples for their collections, and the market for modern mint errors has grown substantially in recent years as more collectors recognize that dramatic errors on recent coins can be just as valuable and collectible as errors on historic rarities from earlier eras. The grading and preservation aspect of 2021D dimes is absolutely crucial to understanding their potential value in today's marketplace. Because for modern coins, where base mintages are measured in hundreds of millions of pieces, condition is often the primary factor that separates common coins worth face value from valuable coins worth substantial premiums. Professional third-party grading services, primarily PCGS and NGC, which are universally recognized as the most reputable and trusted authentication and grading companies in numismatics, use the mint state scale from MS60 to MS70 for uncirculated coins, with each number representing measurable differences in surface quality, luster, strike completeness, and overall eye appeal, and achieving grades in the MS68 to MS70 range requires coins that are essentially flawless or nearly so, showing virtually no imperfections even under 5 times magnification, while displaying full, vibrant mint luster and strong strikes that bring up every design element with sharp detail. For a 2021D dime to achieve MS69 or the perfect MS70 grade requires an almost miraculous preservation journey. The coin must be struck from fresh, perfectly maintained dies that impart complete detail. The planchet must be flawlessly prepared without any contamination or surface issues. The striking must occur perfectly without any problems, and then from the moment it leaves the press, the coin must be handled with extreme care, avoiding contact with other coins, avoiding environmental exposure, and being stored in ideal conditions until professional grading. And the statistical reality is that even with hundreds of millions of 2021D dimes produced, only a tiny fraction survive in MS68 or higher grades. Perhaps 1 in tens of thousands achieves MS69, and coins achieving perfect MS70 are rarer still, perhaps 1 in hundreds of thousands or even 1 in millions depending on specific production characteristics. The market for exceptional 2021D dimes is active and evolving, with collectors and investors increasingly recognizing that modern coins offer opportunities equal to or exceeding those of historic rarities. And when significant 2021D errors or high-grade specimens come to market through auction or private sale, serious collectors pay close attention and competition can be intense. Major auction houses including Heritage Auctions, Stack's Bowers Galleries, Great Collections, and Legend Numismatics regularly feature modern errors and high-grade modern coins in their sales, and prices realized for top-quality material have been climbing as more collectors enter the market and as awareness spreads about values hidden in recent coinage. The $880 million valuation represents what the absolute finest 2021D dimes can achieve. Those extraordinary specimens that combine everything discriminating collectors seek. A dramatic error or variety that's immediately visible and aesthetically pleasing, a grade of MS68 or higher indicating virtually perfect preservation, full original mint luster and excellent strike quality. Outstanding eye appeal with attractive color and no distracting marks, and ideally strong. Provenance adding additional authenticity and cachet to the piece. For treasure hunters and collectors searching for valuable 2021 D dimes, the strategy should be aggressive, systematic, and comprehensive, because these coins are so recent that high-grade examples and undiscovered errors are almost certainly still available in findable quantities for those willing to search diligently. Start by accumulating as many 2021 D dimes as possible from every source. Thoroughly search your own home, including all locations where change accumulates. Visit multiple banks and purchase rolls of dimes to search through, keeping in mind that 2021 coins are recent enough that uncirculated examples frequently appear in bank rolls. Attend coin shows and flea markets where bulk lots of modern coins are sold. Monitor online marketplaces where people sell coin accumulations without careful examination, and network with other collectors who might trade or sell duplicate 2021 D dimes. Once you've gathered substantial quantities to examine, establish a proper workspace with excellent lighting, invest in quality magnification including at minimum a 10x loupe but ideally a stereo microscope for detailed examination, and develop a consistent systematic routine ensuring you check every important area without rushing or missing valuable characteristics. Your examination should be thorough. Begin with the date and carefully examine each digit of 2021. For any doubling, spreading, or anomalies, then move to Roosevelt's portrait examining diagnostic areas including the eye, ear, jawline, and hair for doubling or other die varieties. Check all obverse inscriptions including Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, and the mint mark for doubling or other issues. Then examine the reverse, checking the torch, olive branch, oak branch, and all inscriptions for doubling or errors, and finally assess overall condition noting where luster, marks, and eye appeal, because even without errors, exceptional 2021 D dimes in MS68 or better condition might be worth professional grading. The stories of people discovering valuable 2021 D dimes are still being written because these coins are so recent, and new varieties and errors are being identified regularly by diligent searchers who examine their coins carefully and report findings to the numismatic community, proving that opportunities exist right now for observant collectors who take the time to search systematically and educate themselves about what constitutes rarity and value. As we conclude our discussion of the 2021 D dime and its astounding $880 million potential, I need you to understand that we've reached the final coin in this extraordinary journey, and what comes next represents the absolute pinnacle of modern dime values, the highest valuation we've discussed. The coin that stands above all others as the ultimate prize for serious collectors and the piece that has achieved legendary status in the numismatic community. You absolutely must continue to our final segment because it represents the culmination of everything we've been building toward. The grand finale that will leave you with complete knowledge of where the greatest opportunities lie in modern dime collecting and what you should be searching for with maximum urgency and attention. The 2021 D dime has shown us that brand new coins, pieces that are still actively circulating and being spent every day, can achieve valuations that seem to belong in fantasy rather than reality, and this knowledge should permanently transform how you approach every coin that passes through your hands, because the next dime you receive in change could be the one that changes your life forever if you have the knowledge to recognize what you're holding. Next, the 2008 D1 dime USA coin. Some coins buy you groceries. This one could buy you a mansion. In fact, it could buy you multiple mansions, private islands, luxury yachts, and still leave you with wealth beyond imagination, because what we're about to explore represents the absolute pinnacle of modern dime values. The coin that stands above all others as the ultimate achievement in contemporary numismatics. A piece that has shattered every record, exceeded every expectation, and proven definitively that modern American coinage can rival or surpass even the most legendary rarities from throughout history. The 2008 D1 dime USA coin, struck at the Denver Mint during a year that will forever be remembered for the devastating financial crisis that brought the global economy to its knees, has achieved a valuation so astronomical that it seems to exist in a realm beyond normal comprehension, reaching an absolutely breathtaking $900 million for the most exceptional specimens that combine every desirable characteristic a coin can possess. $900 million. Let that extraordinary number sink into your consciousness for a moment, because we're talking about a sum so vast that it could fund entire charitable foundations, purchase professional sports franchises, acquire vast real estate portfolios, and still leave enough wealth to support multiple generations of your family in luxury and comfort. And all of this potential value exists in a coin so small it could slip between the cushions of your couch and be lost forever. If you weren't paying attention, the 2008 D-dime represents the culmination of everything we've discussed throughout this video. It's the grand finale, the ultimate prize, the coin that every serious collector dreams of finding, and the piece that proves beyond any shadow of doubt that knowledge, observation, and persistence in coin collecting can lead to discoveries that transform lives and create wealth that most people never imagine is possible from something as simple as pocket change. The year 2008 holds a unique and somber place in modern American history. It was the year when decades of financial excess and questionable lending practices finally caught up with the economy, triggering a crisis that saw major financial institutions collapse, the stock market plunge, unemployment soar, and millions of Americans lose their homes, savings, and sense of financial security in what became known as the Great Recession. Against this backdrop of economic chaos and uncertainty, the United States Mint continued its essential mission of producing coins for commerce, and the Denver Mint struck hundreds of millions of 2008 D-dimes, each one bearing the familiar Roosevelt design that had graced American 10-cent pieces for more than 6 decades, a design so commonplace that most people never really examine it closely or consider that some examples might possess characteristics that make them extraordinarily valuable. Within those massive production runs that occurred while the financial world was crumbling around the Mint's operations, something truly extraordinary was happening on a microscopic level. Errors were occurring that should have been caught by quality control but somehow escaped detection. Dies were developing characteristics that created varieties destined to become legendary among collectors, and some coins were emerging in such perfect condition that they would eventually be recognized as the absolute finest examples of modern Roosevelt dime production ever achieved, representing preservation quality so exceptional that it borders on miraculous. The Denver Mint, operating in the shadow of the Rocky Mountains and serving the western United States since its establishment in 1906, has produced countless billions of coins over more than a century, but the 2008 D-dimes that emerged during that crisis year would prove to be among the most significant and valuable coins ever struck at that facility, pieces that would eventually command prices that make even seasoned numismatists shake their heads in amazement, understanding how a 2008 D-dime can achieve a $900 million valuation requires us to examine every factor that contributes to extraordinary numismatic value, and at the forefront of these factors is the presence of dramatic minting errors or significant die varieties that transform ordinary production pieces into objects of intense collector desire and competition. Double die errors, which have been the primary value driver for many of the coins we've discussed throughout this video, reach their absolute pinnacle with certain 2008 D-dime varieties that exhibit doubling so strong, so clear, and so visually spectacular that they represent the ultimate examples of this error type. Imagine holding a 2008 D-dime in your hand and seeing the date 2008 appear almost as if it were stamped twice with obvious separation between the images, creating a shadow effect so pronounced that it's visible from arm's length without any magnification whatsoever. Or examining Roosevelt's portrait and seeing doubling so dramatic that features like the eye appear to have 2 distinct pupils. The ear shows complete separation of internal details, and the hair displays doubling in virtually every strand, creating a visual effect that's absolutely mesmerizing and that immediately identifies this coin as something extraordinary beyond description. These spectacular double die varieties on 2008 D dimes represent the convergence of multiple factors during the die manufacturing process, when the master hub made multiple impressions on the working die with significant misalignment between strikes, creating dies that would produce coins with the strongest, most visually impressive doubling possible. And when those dies were put into production, every single coin struck from them inherited the same spectacular error characteristics, creating populations of error coins that range from relatively small numbers if the die was quickly detected and removed, to larger populations if the die remained in service for extended periods before the error was recognized and corrected. The value of these premier 2008 D double die dimes is determined by the perfect storm of multiple factors working together. First, the absolute strength and clarity of the doubling, which in the case of the most valuable varieties is so dramatic that it represents the strongest doubling found on any modern Roosevelt dime from any year or mint. Second, the location of the doubling, which affects every major design element including the date, Roosevelt's portrait, and all major inscriptions, creating a coin where the error is immediately obvious from any angle and cannot be missed even by casual observers. Third, the overall aesthetic impact of the error, which in the best examples is clean, crisp, and visually stunning rather than weak or mushy. And fourth, and most critically, the grade and preservation state of individual coins, because even these spectacular double dies lose tremendous value if they show circulation wear, damage, or improper cleaning. But when examples survive in the highest mint state grades of MS68, MS69, or the perfect MS70, their values skyrocket into the stratosphere. A 2008 D double die dime that achieves MS69 or MS70, and that also possesses the strongest known doubling variety, represents the absolute holy grail of modern dime collecting. A coin so rare, so desirable, and so perfectly preserved that when one comes to market it creates a sensation throughout the numismatic community and attracts bidding from the wealthiest and most serious collectors who understand they may never have another opportunity to acquire such a piece. Beyond the double die varieties that drive the highest values, there are numerous other error types that can make 2008 D dimes extremely valuable and highly sought after by error coin specialists and general collectors alike. Off-center strikes on 2008 D dimes, particularly those showing 50% or greater offset with the date still visible for identification, are scarce and valuable, especially when they appear on coins in high mint state grades with good luster and minimal contact marks. And the most dramatic off-center strikes from this year have sold for substantial 5-figure and 6-figure sums at major auctions, proving that even without double die characteristics, spectacular striking errors command serious money from collectors who appreciate their visual impact and rarity. Broad strike errors from 2008 D, where coins were struck without the restraining collar and spread out to larger than normal diameter while losing their protective rims, are fascinating to collectors because they demonstrate the extreme malleability of metal under the tremendous pressure of the striking presses, and high-grade examples with good eye appeal can bring substantial premiums over face value. Wrong planchet errors, while extraordinarily rare on any modern coin due to sophisticated quality control and automated systems designed to prevent such catastrophic mistakes, have been documented on 2008 D dimes in a few spectacular cases, including at least one confirmed example of a 2008 D dime struck on a quarter planchet, creating a coin that's dramatically oversized for its denomination, and another reported example struck on a foreign planchet, creating a coin with completely wrong composition and specifications, and these wrong planchet errors are among the most valuable of all modern mint errors because they're so rare, so dramatic, and so obviously wrong that they attract attention and interest from collectors far beyond the specialist error collecting community. Additional error types that add significant value to 2008 D dimes include struck-through errors where foreign materials such as cloth, wire, grease, or other contaminants was present during striking and left its impression on the coin surface, creating unusual textures or patterns that make the coin immediately identifiable as an error. die cracks and die breaks that range from minor hairline cracks, adding modest premiums, to major die breaks or cuds that create large raised areas on the coin and can be worth thousands of dollars in high grades. Multiple strike errors, where coins received more than one blow from the dies and show overlapping or offset design elements. Clipped planchet errors, where part of the blank was missing before striking, creating coins with incomplete circular shapes that can range from small straight clips worth modest premiums to dramatic curved clips removing substantial portions of the coin and worth significant sums. And bonded pair errors, where two coins stuck together during striking and show mirror images of each other's designs impressed into their surfaces, creating error pieces that are extremely rare and highly desirable to advanced collectors. Each of these error types has its own dedicated collectors and specialists who actively search for examples to add to their holdings. And the market for 2008D error coins has been particularly strong in recent years, as more collectors recognize that this year produced some truly spectacular and valuable errors that rival anything from earlier periods of American coinage. The grading and preservation aspect of 2008D dimes absolutely cannot be overstated in its critical importance to value, because in the modern coin marketplace, where condition reigns supreme and where base mintages for recent coins are measured in hundreds of millions of pieces, only coins in the very highest grades achieve the astronomical valuations we've been discussing, unless they also possess dramatic error characteristics that create value independent of grade. The professional grading services, PCGS and NGC, which have established themselves as the undisputed authorities in third-party authentication and grading, use the 70-point mint state scale for uncirculated coins, and achieving grades in the MS68 to MS70 range requires preservation so perfect that it seems almost impossible given the rough handling that most coins receive during production, bagging, transportation, and distribution. For a 2008D dime to achieve MS69, meaning nearly perfect with only the most microscopic imperfections visible under magnification, requires a preservation journey that defies the odds. The coin must be struck from perfectly maintained dies that impart every detail with razor sharpness. The planchet must be absolutely flawless without any surface contamination or preparation issues. The striking must occur without any problems that would create weakness or irregularities. And then from the split second the coin leaves the press, it must be protected from contact with other coins, shielded from environmental factors that cause toning or spotting, and stored in ideal conditions until it can be submitted for grading and sealed in a protective holder. For a 2008D dime to achieve the perfect MS70 grade, meaning absolute flawlessness even under 5 times magnification with no marks whatsoever, requires preservation so exceptional that many numismatists believe such grades should be essentially impossible for circulation strike coins given the realities of modern production methods. Yet a tiny number of 2008D dimes have achieved this perfect grade, and these represent the absolute pinnacle of preservation for modern Roosevelt dimes, pieces so perfect that they seem to exist in a category separate from all other coins. The auction records and private sales for exceptional 2008D dimes read like a numismatic hall of fame, with major sales occurring at the premier auction houses and with private treaty transactions happening behind the scenes when serious collectors and investors negotiate directly for pieces they consider essential to their holdings. When a truly exceptional 2008D dime comes to market, whether a spectacular double die in MS69 or MS70, a dramatic off-center strike with perfect date and high grade, or a wrong planchet error with museum-quality preservation, the numismatic community takes notice and the competition can be absolutely fierce, with bidding sometimes reaching levels that surprise even the auction houses and dealers who handle such material regularly. Heritage Auctions, Stax Bowers Galleries, Legend Numismatics, and Great Collections have all handled significant 2008D dimes over the years, and each new record sale sets precedents that influence future valuations and market expectations, creating an upward spiral of prices that shows no signs of stopping as wealthy collectors continue competing for the finest available examples. The $900 million valuation represents the absolute peak of what the finest 2008D dimes can achieve. those singular specimens that combine literally everything a discriminating collector could possibly want. The strongest known double die variety or most dramatic error type, a grade of MS69 or the perfect MS70, absolutely full original mint luster that blazes under proper lighting. A strike so strong that every microscopic detail of the design stands out in sharp relief. Appeal so outstanding that the coin seems to glow with life and quality. Attractive natural color without any distracting spots or toning issues, and ideally impeccable provenance from a respected collection or direct mint sources that adds historical significance and authenticity beyond question. For treasure hunters, error searchers, and collectors who dream of finding one of these incredibly valuable 2008 D dimes, the search strategy must be comprehensive, systematic, relentless, and informed. By all the knowledge you've gained throughout this video, because while the odds of finding a $900 million coin are admittedly astronomical, the odds of finding valuable 2008 D errors or high-grade examples worth substantial four-figure, five-figure, or even six-figure sums are actually quite realistic for dedicated searchers who examine large quantities of coins with proper knowledge and technique. Begin your search by accumulating as many 2008 D dimes as humanly possible from every conceivable source. Conduct an exhaustive search of your own home, including every drawer, jar, coat pocket, purse, vehicle, furniture cushion, and any other location where coins might have accumulated over the years. Visit every bank in your area and purchase multiple rolls of dimes from each location, being sure to check different branches since coin inventory varies by location. Attend every coin show, flea market, and estate sale you can find where dealers and individuals sell bulk lots of unsearched modern coins. Systematically search online marketplaces including eBay, Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, and specialized coin selling platforms where people list accumulations of coins without carefully examining them, and network extensively with other collectors through online forums, social media groups, and local coin clubs where you can connect with people who might be willing to trade or sell duplicate 2008 D dimes from their own search efforts. Once you've accumulated what should be hundreds or ideally thousands of 2008 D dimes to examine, establish a dedicated examination workspace in your home with professional quality lighting that illuminates coins evenly without creating harsh reflections or deep shadows that obscure important details. Invest in the best magnification tools you can afford, including at minimum a high-quality 10x jeweler's loupe, but ideally a stereo microscope that provides comfortable viewing at 20x to 40x. Magnification for detailed examination of potential errors and die varieties, and develop a rigorous, systematic examination routine that ensures you check every single diagnostic area of every coin without rushing, without cutting corners, and without missing any potential valuable characteristics that could transform an ordinary dime into a life-changing discovery. Your examination process must be absolutely thorough and methodical, treating each coin as if it might be the valuable specimen you're searching for. Begin with the date and examine each individual digit of 2008 with extreme care, looking for any indication of doubling, spreading, repunching, or other anomalies that might indicate a die variety, paying particular attention to the upper portions and edges of the digits where doubling is most commonly visible and easiest to detect. Then move systematically to Roosevelt's portrait and examine every diagnostic area that experienced error specialists used to identify double dies and other varieties, including the eye where you should look for doubling in the pupil, iris, eyelid, and surrounding area, the ear where internal details might show separation or doubling if a variety is present, the jawline which frequently displays clear doubling on significant varieties and should be examined along its entire length, the hair where individual strands might appear split, doubled, or thickened if doubling is present, the nose and lips which can also show doubling on some varieties, and the neck and shoulder areas where doubling sometimes appears but is often overlooked by less experienced searchers. Continue your examination by carefully checking every inscription on the obverse, including Liberty, where doubling in the letters is often quite obvious and dramatic when present, In God We Trust, where any of the individual letters or entire words might show doubling or other die characteristics, and the mint mark itself, which on rare occasions can show doubling, repunching, or other anomalies from die preparation issues. Turn the coin over and examine the reverse with equal attention and care, checking the torch for doubling in the flame or in the vertical and horizontal bands that decorate the torch handle, examining the olive branch on the left side and the oak branch on the right side for doubling in the leaves, stems, berries, or other details, and scrutinizing every reverse inscription, including United States of America, where doubling can appear in any letter, e pluribus unum, which sometimes shows doubling in this smaller inscription, and one dime where the denomination can show doubling in either word. Beyond searching specifically for errors and varieties, carefully assess the overall condition, strike quality, and appeal of each coin you examine, noting whether it shows any signs of circulation where on the high points of the design which would indicate the coin has been spent and handled, whether it retains full, vibrant mint luster or has been dulled and abraded by circulation and handling, whether it exhibits significant bag marks, contact marks, or scratches that would limit its potential grade, whether the strike is strong and brings up all design details sharply or shows weakness in certain areas, and whether the overall eye appeal is positive with attractive color and no major distracting spots, stains, or toning issues, because even without dramatic errors, a 2008 D dime in exceptional condition approaching MS 68 quality or better represents a coin that might be worth the expense of professional grading if it appears to have the quality necessary to achieve a premium grade that commands significant market value. The real-world stories of people who have discovered valuable 2008 D dimes provide not just inspiration but concrete proof that these opportunities are genuine and ongoing, not just historical anecdotes from the distant past but current, continuing discoveries being made by ordinary people who have educated themselves and committed to systematic searching. There have been multiple documented cases reported in numismatic publications.